All right, so I have a hand here I want to run through the solver, and I'm going to record the output. So I figured I'd make a video. It's been a while. So I open under the gun with King 8 suited. All the players between me and the button are pretty much somewhat tight ABC players. Not a high likelihood I'm going to get 3-bet. And if I can get around and get involved with small blind looks like a recreational player, a lot of loose stats, pretty aggressive and aggro. Um, and big blind, not as loose, but looks pretty aggro as well. Both pretty small samples. These stats over 15 hands are a lot more trustworthy than these stats here over 21 hands, but they both look pretty aggressive. I've got position, so this is like a pretty good scenario with a speculative hand. Like King 8 suited. King 8 suited is a standard open for me from under the gun. Um, so either way, I will tighten up certain spots. I will tighten up this range. There's like a couple of aggressive 3-betters, especially in the cutoff for the button. Then I may not open that, but probably 75-80% of the time this is standard open for me. So gets around small blind, which small blind calls, which is what we want. Then big blind decides to come along as well, and boom, we flop bingo. So now I'm trying to figure out how to keep Ryan in the hand, how to get Ryan's whole stack in. And I'm kind of not really. Big blind has some eights in his range, so he could be about to get cooler right now as well. So yeah, I don't want to chase anybody out of the pot, but I don't want to check either. I want to start building a pot. So big blind checks. I bet quarter pot. Small blind comes along, and big blind raises. That's what's about to happen. Sorry for the spoiler. Now I have to figure out what's in big blind's check call and range. So I think pocket jacks can be ruled out. The reason why is it's a small sample, but player looks pretty aggressive. I can't imagine him flatting pocket jacks 3 ways, totally letting all of his equity go to waste. So I think we can rule that out. For it to be ace 8 suited, it has to be exactly ace of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. It's the only combo. I guess there are some ace 8 offsuits he could have flat uh, 3 ways. If he's somewhat competent player, he doesn't want to be 3 ways with something like ace 8 offsuit. So I don't think there's that many combos of that. There's only 3 anyway. Um, but yeah, I don't think that's in his range that much either. But there could be some 9-8 offsuit, 7-8 offsuit as well. Um, maybe 10 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. So there is some 8x in his range, not a whole lot. What there is a lot more of is there's uh, so there's 9-10, there's queen 10, there's queen 9, there's 9-7. So he's got a lot of gut shots. A lot of gut shots and some open ender straight draws as well that he could be bluffing. He's an aggressive player. All those can be in his range. And right now, I think he's got more bluffs in his range than he does value hands. And I beat almost all the value hands. So this is like a great scenario with him raising. And we got position on him. I got position on everybody. So this is a spot you play poker for. So action goes. I'm just double checking his stats, and they are very aggressive. So I call. Now comes the ace of diamonds. The ace of diamonds is the best possible card that can show up because that now rules out ace of diamonds, eight of diamonds. So all the eights, I now beat all the eights. Again, with the exception of the ace jack, eight jack. If I'm not unlucky, then that's poker. But yeah, but most of the eights that I'm ahead of, I don't. That ace is that's like the best card that could hit the turn. So now here's the thing, but now you have to consider what you're unblocking too. So the king is also like the best possible kicker I could have, not because of the hand strength. The hand strength on the flop, equity is what matters. Equity and hand strength is what matters. On the turn and river, it's all about the blockers, what you're blocking and what you're unblocking. So probably the worst hand I could have in this spot would be 10-8 suited because 10-8 unblocks or 10-8 blocks all his bluffs. So if I have 10-8, he's not likely to have, 9-10, queen 10, all the gut shots and open-ended draws that involve that 10. Same thing with queen. If I had queen 8, that would be one of the worst hands I could have because that unblocks his queen 10 suited, queen 9, all the queen X hands that he could bluff with. Um, 7-8, 7-8 is a bad kicker as well for unblocking purposes because it unblocks. It would be blocking him from having 7-9, but he still has the 9-10, queen 10, all those. So 7 is probably the least horrible kicker out of all the kickers we don't want to have. But the king of clubs is the best possible kicker we could have. Also, not having the ace is pretty good because he could be overvaluing something like, ace jack, and now he has two pair. But that's the way he's playing the hand. That's not too likely. It's more likely some kind of draw or some kind of worse eight. So this is a really good scenario, and he's tanking a little bit. Now he's betting pretty big. So once he bets big, his range is polarized. This probably isn't 7-8. This is Jack 8, again, which is unlikely, or it's a draw. So there's no reason to raise. If I raise, I'm only getting called by better hands. And I'm also probably going to fold out like at least all the gut shots and any Jack X that could be overvalued, even though I'm not putting too many of that. Just putting too many of those in his range. This is pretty polarized. So this is 8X or this is a draw. So he calls. 5 comes on the river. None of the draws get there. So villain, to win this pot, villain has to bet. He's never going to check king, queen, or anything like that. The only showdown hands that could win, they aren't really in his range. So he has to bet. He has to either value bet or bluff. And again, with all the blockers and unblockers I talked about, this is very highly, highly likely a bluff. So what's the villain do? Villain goes all in. Now, again, I'm looking at his river aggression. That's what I'm looking at there. Um, so before I make the decision, I looked at the river aggression. I just wanted to be confident in my read that he could be bluffing here because the reality is, I don't care what anybody says. Most 50 NL, even 100 NL players, most aren't bluffing on the river. I can show you in. I've done enough hand and note analysis of range research to know bluff bluffs on the river, the percentage is very low. It's not 33% where it's supposed to be in a game theory optimal environment. I think it's somewhere around 15 to it was like 15, 16%. I could do it on video again, but it wasn't close to 33%. So when he goes all in, I have to consider the possible value hands. 8-5 maybe it's a long shot, but 8-5 could be you know, 8-5 of diamonds is a possible hand. It's only one combo, so it's I'm not really worried about it. But I do have to consider that. But he has so many more bluffs in his range that I have to call this. Now, if the flop would have come different, if the flop would have been 8-5-8 instead of 8-Jack-8, this would probably be a fold. The reason why is pocket fives is realistic in his range the way the action went pre-flop. But I can't imagine a world where pockets jacks is in his range a player this aggressive. So this is definitely a call. I hesitated a little bit. I was running all this what I'm saying out loud right now through my head before I made this call. And finally I did it. And he had Queen Nine, which he played the hand. I like how he played his hand. Um, once he got the third player out of the pot, it made sense to play his hand the way he did. He wasn't going to win a showdown. Um, he put a lot of pressure. He has more eights in his range than I do under the gun, so he put pressure on my jack, ace jack. So yeah, I mean, villain played his hand good. I think I played mine as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this spot and I'm going to run it through the solver and see how both ranges should have played. So I'm going to pause this recording. I'm going to do that, and it'll only be a couple seconds to you guys, but I'll be back. All right, so going to try this again here. So yeah, so villain does have a range where he can lead out. It's pretty wide. His exact hand, Queen Nine of Diamonds. Mostly going to check, which villain does, and then I have a couple options. But most of what I'm going to do is since uh, I'm in position. I got range advantage. Big blind has nut advantage, but I have range advantage, so I'm going to bet small, and that's what happens with the king eight 96% of the time. So we bet small, and then all the villains queen nines. He has the queen nine of diamonds. That's the one that check raises the least, but that check raises as well. He has a lot of stuff, pretty much like everything. Everything we mentioned: the queen nine, the queen 10. Where's 10-9? Yeah, 10-9. Jack X as well, especially Jack 8, of course. All his eights. So yeah, so there's a lot of value and a lot of bluffs in his range when he check raises. And of course, we will call. Let me see. So yeah, when he raises, bet raise. King 8 is a call, and yeah, we don't want to raise for like the reasons I'd said. Ace 8 will raise, I guess, looking to get value from worse 8x, but King 8 is probably the best. Like I was saying, it unblocks all the bluffs. Everything there's not a single bluff that involves a king. Um, that will continue. So, because there is some bluffs like the solver is picking some random bluffs. Yeah, King 10, King 9. But I mean, it's very few. Most of the bluffs have a 9, they have a queen, or they have a 10. Like those are the money cards. If I don't have one of those, then villain has a lot more bluffs in his range. And yeah, we want to keep them in, so we're not raising. So now with villain with the queen 9. Villain was well. Villain is checking most of his queen 9s here. The only one he plays aggressively is going to be the queen 9 of diamonds, which him having queen 9 of diamonds leaves a lot of backdoor draws in my range that can fold. That can fold now. So villain's queen 9 is betting big 5% of the time. The other ones are 0, so I guess he played it correctly. He definitely took the lower frequency move. And King 8 should have been a raise. Raise or a call. I have to give villain. So now we're getting to exploitation. If I raise, I'm only getting called by the 8x. Whether most of them I beat, so it's no problem. But I'm eliminating all his bluffs if I raise. So that's why I chose to call. This is what you do in game theory optimal world, but you do have to remember, like, see all these 8s call, and this one raises because this is the best possible 8 you can have once that ace of diamonds comes out. But in game theory optimal world, it works different than real world. When a player, the psychology of a lot of these players is when they bet big on a turn, they have to bluff the river. They build a big pot, they don't want to give up on it. So having the best possible blocker or unblocker, if you want to say that, in my mind, it made much more sense to it made much more sense just to call and give Villain the opportunity to put the rest in. And River was 5 of clubs. So 5 of clubs. That's a brick. It's not going to change anything. So yeah, see, in GTO world, Villain was supposed to give up on the river, but again, GTO world and real world poker, it just doesn't work like that. There, players feel obligated. See, your bluffing percentages on the flop, you should have 2 bluffs to every value hand. On the turn, it should be about 50-50. And on the river, you should have 2 value hands to every bluff. And you have to know combinatorics to be able to count them. And it's not an exact science, and the solver isn't always exact with it either. I mean, there's times where the solver will have no bluffs whatsoever. It will have only value hands. I've seen that. It's pretty tough to find spots where that exists, where that's a thing, but I promise you that it is. Um, yeah, so villain's mostly value betting here. The only bluffs it's using is the 9-10, some of the queen 10s. Having the 9, I think the reason behind it is having the 9 blocks a lot of draws that the in position player could have that can continue. So it's probably the worst bluff. The queen 10. Queen 10. Or 10 9. I guess maybe the queen. No, because the queen 8 bluffs. I don't know. It had to give this one a little more thought, but either way, the queen 9 gives up. Does it ever bluff? Nope, 0% frequency. So let's just say villain bets. Yeah, king 8 of diamonds, slam dunk, get all the rest of the money in. In the game, he went all in, but yeah, as you can see, king 8 of diamonds specifically